I don't know. People think that I'm crazy for staying with, you know, a woman who was cheating on me for 2 years with a guy, and she was lying every step of the way, still coming home to me, but then she'd have periods where she didn't come home here and there, and but, or she would say she's staying at a friend's house, and then I'd find out she was over at his house.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Rejection is a Bitch podcast. One of the most fascinating and amazing parts of doing life coaching as well as having a podcast is people who reach out and say, man, I can relate to your story in some form or some fashion. That's what we're going to have today. I have a guest. My man, Zack, is joining me today to share a story and just kind of kick it with me. Going to talk about a couple things back and forth, and it's going to be a great conversation. How's it going, Zack?
It's going good, man. It's going good. How are you?
Man, I'm wonderful, brother. You told me you up there in New York.
Yes, sir.
We hold two different worlds here in Texas. Texas and New York, two different worlds, but we've been following each other on social media for a little while now. I'm not sure exactly how we connected, but it's been a great follow.
True. I was actually going to ask you, do you remember how we linked up? But
I'm not sure. But I love
it's been a few years now, though.
Absolutely, man. And I love what you put out to the world, and honestly, I appreciate your support that you give me as well on my end.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been great. But you reached out, man. You said, you loving my content, but also you have a story that you want to share. And that's exactly what I want this platform to be. I'm sharing my story so people can feel comfortable in their own right, sharing their stories on their end. So I want to open the floor for you, man. Whatever you like to share, feel free.
Well, I guess, I just thought a different perspective, or my perspective on everything. Because like you've said in your videos before, like getting divorced is sometimes necessary and all that. But my story is different. And you've also said, like, by all means, you're not saying, don't go back to your ex and stuff like that.
Right.
For me, my story is we are still together, but my story is a crazy one. We have battled so much together. We have battled each other so much over the years. But God has kept us together. And I put that 100% on God. God is the one that said to me to stay with my wife. And that is something that I cannot say no to. And we're here. We're working through things. I don't really know where to start because it's a long story, man. But
yeah,
I guess I'll just try to get the basics of it all. And by the way, I have talked to my wife about this. She knows I'm going to be sharing stuff.
you have the permission.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, I'm pretty much an open book here, and so is she. So I guess I'll start right off the bat by saying, like, when we got together, I was a teenager. So was she, obviously. And I wasn't into good things at all. I was partying all the time, sleeping with all sorts of people all the time, different girl like every other day. You know what I mean? It was not a great time for me. I was doing drugs and all sorts of stuff. But when I had met her, we basically met by having a sexual interaction. So by God's standards, that's not the way you're supposed to meet your wife. You know what I mean? It's not your typical way. Now, having said that, though, she kind of stole me away from my girlfriend at the time. But my girlfriend at the time was a mess as well. And then I don't know, we just we were like glue. We just couldn't seem to break away. It's not like we were trying to break away, but we just kept coming to each other. We weren't dating or anything. We just were. There was just that attraction. Something was bringing us together. But like I said, I was not a great person back then. And then when we did start dating, I cheated a lot, all the way up to the marriage, and then into our marriage. Once we got married, it definitely died down, and it was just like stupid things here and there. She stuck with me every time, but then I messed up real bad, and I ended up messing around with, let's just say, somebody very close to her. I don't want to I can't give any names on that,
Sure,
but
sure.
or I can't give the exact relationship to her, but
Right.
I will just say it was a family member of hers.
Yeah.
So that cut real deep for her, obviously. It happened, she stayed with me. And then honestly, it happened more than once, and then with that same person, and for whatever reason she stayed with me, and I believe that it was God that kept her with me. There was a breaking point on my end where I felt so terrible about myself and what I was doing to her, and I just let everything off my chest to her and told her like just things she already knew, but like also things that she didn't know, and just came clean and tried to change my ways, And I thought we were good. I thought we were good for a few years. And, throughout those years, she had mentioned, like she wasn't happy and she was dealing with this and she wanted, different things for me. And I thought I was doing enough. She wanted one of the things that she wanted me to lead our family in Christ, and I wasn't doing that. So I started to take those steps, but I guess in her eyes, she didn't see it, or whatever. But I think ultimately my sin against her and against our marriage just festered in her for a long time until she ended up having a breaking point where she started messing up. That was a couple of years ago. So that when I stopped, there was a gap, a few years where I thought everything was good. I'm texting her at night saying all these sweet things to each other, and I thought everything was gravy. And I'm listening to Christian podcasts while I'm working overnight, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm getting my life on track and I'm getting closer to God, and I'm doing all the right things, and my wife is happy with me. And uh I fell so deeply in love with my wife during this time, and ultimately I think because of the unconditional love that she showed me by staying with me through all of that, and continuing to love me, like show me that she loved me through it, which it's unbelievable to even think about it now that she stuck with me for all that. For somebody to sit there and still love me after all that, I just was amazed by it. And then I just fell so deeply in love with her. And I was doing all the right things, at least I thought I was. Then one day I could tell something was off. Long story short, I found out she had started sleeping with somebody at work. It was somebody that we both worked with. So I worked overnights and she was working during the day at the same place. It just, everything fell apart after that. For about 2 years, she was seeing this guy. There was times where I wanted to give up. I wanted to do that. Like every emotion you could think of, I've been through it. I was on my knees crying out to God, begging him to leave, asking him. I asked him, I said, like, please tell me it's okay for me to leave. Tell me it's okay. Tell me I'm allowed to do that. And he said, like, I could hear him. This is the closest to God I've ever felt in my life because I was praying to him about this every single night, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I could almost audibly hear him say, yes, you can. You have every right. I say in my word that this is justified. Sexual immorality justifies it. And I'm like, okay, well, then tell me that you want me to do that. And every single time I would ask him, he would say no. And I'm like, I would just please, Lord, say it's okay. Say you want me to leave. Every time, no, like clear as day. I couldn't deny what I was hearing, so I did. We've been battling smaller issues since then, that have stemmed from it, but ultimately, we are now on the right track, I believe, as a couple. For me, staying with my wife was the course for me.
And first off, I'm gonna say, brother, I honor you and I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I know that
absolutely.
was so much for you. I can see it all over you. The
Yeah.
passion, the passion is steaming off of you, man. And I really
Yep.
appreciate you for sharing that. And I want to say congratulations
Thank you.
on what you are experiencing now with her. You said so many powerful things throughout that, and just want to go back to one quick thing when you said the
Yeah, for sure, man.
the unconditional love that she showed you,
Mm-hmm.
throughout some of your mishaps. But prior to that, have you ever experienced unconditional love?
I mean, from my parents, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess, I was the middle child, but I was kind of the problem child. So, I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but
What about from a woman? What woman
from
has
a woman, from a woman like in a relationship sense,
right?
yeah, no. Never.
Yeah.
Not once.
If you had to put yourself in her shoes, what do you believe was the reason that she stuck with you?
Well, I know that she was praying a lot at the time, getting into her Bible at the time, and even going as far as writing down verses. And I do think that it was largely because of God. I think he works things out for good, for those who believe. But also, we do have a family together. We have 6 kids. At the time, we had a couple. Part of it might have been she wanted to keep our family together. My first child is a child that she had from a previous relationship, so she already had a broken home in that area. So, she probably didn't want that to happen again. There's a lot of reasons that could have added up to it, but ultimately, if it was anybody else dealing with what I put her through, I feel like they would have been gone.
Man, we both are believers, and
Yeah.
I fully believe that God is leading you and also for me. But there may be somebody watching this right now that's like, man, all this guy stuff got to go, man. Like,
Yeah.
if they was in your shoes, like, man, nah, I'm gone. I ain't having this
Right.
conversation. Help
Right.
them.
Well, I'm sorry. I
No,
was gonna
go ahead,
say
go ahead.
aside from the whole God aspect, it boils down to just how much is the other person worth to you? For me, my wife is worth everything to me. Flat out, I cannot deny that to myself. Never close to any other woman, or never this close to any other woman. Like, I can't even put it in the same category. I just know. I don't know. People think that I'm crazy for staying with, you know, a woman who was cheating on me for 2 years with a guy, and she was lying every step of the way. Still coming home to me, but then she'd have periods where she didn't come home here and there, or she would say she's staying at a friend's house, and then I'd find out she was over at his house. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and people will look at me and be like, "Dude, you're crazy," but I'm like, I don't know, man. I love this girl, and she was going through a rough patch, and I've been there too. You know what I mean? It was hard to hang on. There was a point where I did start to step away and started to speak to another girl and even met up with her. I was just trying to get her attention, basically. I wasn't really that interested. I was just like, I thought I was convincing myself that I was, but I knew in my heart that I was just trying to shake my wife back into reality and realize that keep messing up and I'm not going to be here. I'm not saying that I never would have left. Obviously, if it kept going on, there's no staying. There's no staying. I don't think that I would have gone through all the process of the divorce and everything myself, because, like I said, like I felt on my heart that I wasn't supposed to. But, if she wanted that, I would have said, I don't think we should do this, but if this is what you want, let's go ahead and do it. I don't know. It's just something. I feel like it really boils down to just how much is the person worth to you. It's like every situation is different. Like, I know more about her life growing up, and let me just like paint this picture for you. Like, her life growing up, her mom left. Well, maybe I shouldn't put them on blast too much, but her mom. Let's just say her mom dipped when she was real little, and so did her dad. And then her family just kind of passed her around her whole life. So she's had no real stability. And a lot of times they pass her around when she would get to be too much. So aside from the God aspect, I felt like I might be the only person in her life that will stay when she gets to be too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, man. Seeing that, history, not wanting it to repeat itself, I mean, and wanted to be that stability in her life. That totally makes sense. But I love how you put, man, worth everything to me. She was worth everything to me. Now,
Yeah.
on the show, I try to play devil's advocate because
Right.
although I may be with you and following you, there may be someone that's watching that may say, well, if she was that worth to you, then you shouldn't have did all the things you did. To that
Right.
person, you say what?
To that person, I say I didn't know what she was worth at the time, and I definitely didn't treat her like she was worth how much she is worth. um, I was blind. I was blind to it. I was a dumb kid. I was a dumb kid who got into a marriage fast. I didn't know what I had. I don't think I knew what real love was by any means. So yeah, I just continue to be a self-serving person. When you're married, that is your job is to serve each other. It's a balance. It's both parties trying to give 100%, 100% of the time. And I wasn't doing that in the beginning by any means because I I didn't have any idea what marriage was supposed to be. I mean, I saw my father and my mother, and they were great. My dad was great to my mom growing up, but I still didn't fully understand what real love was, and that was my downfall. And I think it was probably because I had so many partners at such a young age, and into my adulthood, and I think that just kind of made me lose sight of what I saw my parents have, and it was just more so about me. I was not a good person,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure, man. Our story is very similar, brother,
Yeah,
regarding being promiscuous and kind of chasing something, trying to find whatever it is, through a woman.
right,
And for me, it was early on. I had my parents were together for 30 years, but it was kind of a tumultuous relationship, and they really didn't get along a lot. And they both, experienced infidelity, doing their own thing, and thinking
right.
they hiding it from us, but we saw every piece of it. So,
Yeah,
but so that kind of spearheaded me, um, and I look back and say, man, what if I would have chose the other road? Because kids, man, when you see your family, you're gonna do one thing or another. You're either gonna duplicate what they did, or you're gonna, try to run away from it and do the opposite.
right,
And for me, I definitely duplicated for a while, and making this, so many mistakes along the way until I found what was true for me. But if you look back, man, just thinking about those moments where you were chasing, like, what was the key thing? If you have come to grips with it yet, what were you looking for?
I don't know, man. I think it ultimately boiled down to just feeling wanted,
Mm,
you know.
yeah,
I needed to feel wanted all the time. And I think there was also like a sense of thinking I was cool, the more people I get, and that kind of thing, you
yeah,
know. Yeah, ultimately, I think that I was searching for just somebody to want me, like really, really want me,
yeah.
and all I got was a long list of people who were not special to me by any means.
So real, man. I can relate so much to that, man. Just thinking about wanting that. My whole platform is based on rejection. And how
Right,
I kept receiving that. Started, from my mom and pretty much every woman I've dated or whatever. Just because they never could fill that void that I was looking for, and ultimately that came from Jesus Christ. That feeling of that
right,
ultimately came from me fully receiving Him into my life. And
right,
you
right,
could be around it all your life and hear about Him and all that, but once you finally accept Him, you know, and honestly apply the principles of the Word of God to your life, that's when those voids, begin to get fulfilled.
Yeah. See, even if you don't, even if you don't believe in God, we still look at the Bible. There's just so much wisdom there.
Yes, sir.
I mean, just take it. If you don't want to believe in God, just look at it. Just what's the harm in looking at it and realizing that whoever wrote this book, they were wise people,
Yeah.
And they gave good advice, and we know who really wrote the Bible, but
Right.
or who gave the words to the people who wrote it,
For sure.
But it's all wisdom,
Yeah.
and it's just a great way to live your life is by the word, whether you believe in God or not.
Yes, absolutely, man. That's so true. So what's next, man? I mean, you come back together. I imagine it's been so many tears shed, so many, moments of asking for forgiveness and everything. So where are you now, and how do you foresee things going with you two?
Well, like I said, there's been like a lot of I don't know how you would put it, like ripple effect damage, residual damage maybe, that's just been branching off of the main hurt, and we've been dealing with that. And we're still dealing with stuff from years ago, that's just what happens when you do stuff, when you hurt each other. That stuff, it stays with you. That's something that you're gonna have to keep trying to get over and get through. But you got to do it with each other, with love and compassion and understanding. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Just coming at each other, you know, guns blazing about everything. It's going to go downhill real quick. And I'll tell you that because I know, because that's how I was for a while after her little escapade. And, you know, like there's been a lot of jealousy, a lot of insecurity. And then I started actually falling into a pretty deep depression, and I was starting to get a lot of anxiety, and I've never dealt with that before, ever, my whole life. Like no matter what, I mean, I've been low, but I don't think I've ever actually had depression, because when this stuff started hitting me, it hit me hard, man. Like I wasn't even wanting to get up out of bed, and it was all, I just felt so down about myself, like all because of everything that happened. I'm like, what did I like? What's wrong with me? You know, why wasn't, was I not good enough in this area or that area, or I'm not handsome enough, or what? You know what I mean? Like just everything, I'm questioning my entire existence basically,
Yeah.
and so we've been dealing with that. And I just started, kind of moving past that. And I'm still kind of personally, like me and my wife, we're working on things. Um, we're working on communication. Um, we're nowhere near perfect by any means.
Yeah.
I just got into a fight with her before I came over here. But no one said it's going to be perfect. It's going to be a constant work. It's constant work. That's what it is. That's what marriage is. It's constant
Yeah.
work and constantly trying to grow. And not, when you do mess up, realize what you're doing immediately as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And try to change it, you know. Um and I'm not just talking about like messing up with like, you know, sexual behaviors with other people. I'm talking about like any kind of messing up,
For sure.
You've like we just got into a fight. I'm about to go apologize to her when I get home because I know I started
Right.
it. But yeah, it's like so we're working on that. We've been able to uh reconcile quicker than ever before. And so, like I said, it's not perfect, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. And but for me personally, I am still kind of struggling with like this whole like I don't know, I don't feel great about myself all the time. And I feel like I stopped putting everything on the people that did me wrong. And it's like, it feels like subconsciously, like I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't like, oh, you know, hate yourself. No, but I'm like, I feel like subconsciously, I just like, I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and I'm not who I was before, and not as, I don't know. I just don't feel like Zach sometimes, and like I don't like me at sometimes. But I know it's something that I need to work through, and my wife is helping me. She's been very sweet about it all, and very reassuring, and that's just but that's just what it is. There's consequences every time you sin against somebody else. Every time you hurt somebody else, there's going to be long lasting consequences that you didn't even think were going to be consequences, you know and it's just how you deal with them. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. We're still going through it, but we're on the right track.
Yeah, man. Man, and first I want to say that would definitely make sense that you have those thoughts of, self doubt
Yeah.
and things of that nature. You talk about the long history of, wanting to feel wanted, to now someone that is probably the most significant person in your life having that incident. It would make sense to feel like it's a hit on you. So that's
Right,
definitely
right.
a normal reaction. Uh, but yeah, man, I admire what you guys are doing, man. I want to talk about it as well because you hit on it a little bit. You said how the scripture does say, this is, uh, primarily the reason that it's excused to get a divorce, and most men
Oh, right, right,
most men would hop right on that and say, "Hey, I'm out of here,"
right.
um, but let's talk about that as brothers, as
Yeah.
men, to any man that's watching, because you know I shared a little bit of my story. I don't want to get into what happened with my ex in particular. Haven't had her permission, but there was some things of that nature similar to what you're going through or went through, and I did choose to stay.
Right.
If you had to point to one thing that is allowing you to get over that and not think about it constantly, what would be that thing that you keep on your mind
What I keep on my mind?
that allows you to not, think about the fact that happened to you?
God's word, man. That's what it is. It's Second Corinthians 10:5. Take every thought captive, make them obedient to Christ. And every time some of those thoughts come in, they're all negative thoughts, obviously. It's jealousy, it's hatred towards certain people. And so what I do is I think of the scripture, man, and I take those thoughts because everything starts in the mind, right?
Yeah.
Starts in the mind, then your mind influences the heart, and the heart influences your actions, right? So that was my problem for a long time, as I was thinking about it constantly, and nothing really started to change until I stopped thinking about it. And the way I stopped thinking about it was I didn't, well, let's put it this way. I didn't stop thinking about it. I still think about it sometimes, but the way I get it out of my mind is I go back to scripture.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it does, it works. It takes my mind off of it. I try to, repeating to yourself some things, like with forgiveness, for instance. I had a hard time with forgiveness for my wife. I had a hard time forgiving her, even up till like a couple weeks ago. I realized I still hadn't even forgiven her fully,
Yeah.
and I didn't even realize. I thought I had, but it was me just saying it, because that's when I realized I'm still thinking about it all the time. So that's affecting my heart, and then that's affecting my actions. I'm lashing out on her randomly because I'm still thinking about that, and it's changed my heart towards her. So I struggle with forgiveness, and forgiving her and forgiving him, the guy that she was doing it with. When that stuff comes into my head and I'm like, I want that. There's been so many times where I was just like, I want that guy to suffer the way I suffered, at least a little bit. You know, that's just not of Christ. That's not how Christ would want us to be. He would want us to be like no, no. He's a person too. He's going through things too. And it happened, and the only way it can really be over, the situation can be done, is if you let it go, you forgive. And not only that, but if you don't forgive somebody, you're not just keeping them unforgiven, you're keeping yourself locked up in this cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're still tied down to it.
It's major, brother. It's major for sure. So what does forgiving him look like for you?
Forgiving him for me is so far it's been, like every time, just not thinking about wanting to kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there there's been times, let's just say, I know somebody that knows somebody that can take care of that situation.
You're right.
And I would be lying to say I didn't think about it. And there's a time where I was I almost ran him over in the parking lot at at our old job. And um I obviously didn't. I pulled in front of him and decided to call him out instead. Um, but forgiving him is, for me, is it's really just letting go, and not thinking about it, not wanting, not wishing bad things on him, not wishing that I could stumble upon him somewhere, um, not looking at every car that looks like his and trying to follow it and see if it's him in there, so I could get a chance to be one on one with him again. you know,
Yes, sir.
because I did that for a while too, like even up until like last month, or maybe even a few weeks ago. I don't like. I was still, if I noticed a car that looked like his, I would speed up, see if it was him, and if it was him, I was like, gonna tell him, pull over now. We got some business. But forgiving him is not doing those things. When I see a car that looks like his now, my first instinct is still go look. But then that's when I gotta tell myself, no, it's all good. Just let it go. And that's where it's starting, you know. And it, like I said, it's all in the mind first. I think my heart will follow, you know.
Yeah,
But I don't think my heart is there yet. We're, like I said, it's a work in progress.
for sure. And just for clarity for me, so how much of this choosing to move forward, how much is that a principle that you believe is best, and how much is it truly what you want to do?
Like, how much is it me wanting
Like
to
the
stay
fact,
with her, or
because
how much is it like God telling me?
or yeah, regarding him, I mean, I apologize. Like the fact that you may want to retaliate or to, give him a piece of your mind or whatever, physical contact, whatever. How much of you not doing that is the principle you believe God is telling you to do, as opposed to you made it your own now and it's really what you want to do?
I want to say 50-50, but because I've known that there's just so much problems, and like hanging on to that, not forgiving him, just hanging on to that has caused me so much grief and so much just frustration, and like it's just robbing me of so much time, energy, all that. So I knew I was better off, but ultimately I don't think that it really snapped into me until God started showing me, you know, and he was showing me by, I'm scrolling through TikTok and then something pops up about forgiveness, like right at the right time. You know what I mean? Like right when everything, and then it's like everything I see, everybody I talk to is like all of a sudden everything's clicking together. Like, all right, God, I see what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like I can't
Absolutely.
explain it any other way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Some people call it algorithm. I call it God's timing,
right, right.
and it's divine, man.
Yeah, or some people say the universe, whatever. Whatever you want to believe, that's up to you. But either
Absolutely,
way,
man. I can't tell you how much I relate, to your story, man, and it's like it's almost identical. I hate to say it, but it is. It's true. And you know, for me, it took a long while, man, because what happens, you start to think about, and I'm not trying to take you down a bad road here, brother, but you just
no,
start
no,
to
no.
you
Like I
start to
said, I'm an open book.
cool, man. You start to think about all the moments of those, the lies and the what lengths you must have went to make
Mhm.
things happen, and that's began to be the crushing part of it. But just like you, man, I fought tooth and nail, for my marriage. You know,
Yeah,
I did everything I could, to rescue it, and because of the principle, because of what I believe God, instructed me to do. You know,
right,
um, our journeys are different for regarding the ending of it. I'm praying and hoping that you guys, continue the progress that you're making here, and and see 30, 40, 50 years, for the
right,
rest of your
right,
lives. However, it came a point where I said, man, I don't know how much I can even trust you once we get in it. If we were to come back
right,
together, it was never a point of honesty. There was never a point where you say your wife is still, although she made her mistake, being led by God. You see Christ through her. That wasn't
right,
that for me, and it became a point where the rejection aspect overcame, anything. Like it became a game basically.
right,
Like she had her lifestyle there, she had a lifestyle with me, you know, and I don't know how much he ever let go of that other lifestyle,
right,
So it came a point. I hate to say this, to sound cliche as now because everybody say this, but I did have to choose myself, and choose
right,
what was exactly best for me because it was actually hurting me more to stay in it at that point.
right.
Although I made all my mistakes, and a part of you, I don't know if you can relate to this part. A part of me is saying, "Hey, because you made so many mistakes, you should be willing to hang in there a little bit." So
Right.
that's why I did hang in there, for that 3 years of separation.
For the length that you did it, maybe it wasn't healthy, but I think doing that for a little while, was
Yeah,
was probably good. You know what I mean?
absolutely. It taught me
And
so much for sure.
but you also, like, you definitely can't continue to do that once you know that it's been enough. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that too. And like, so here's the thing. Like I came to a point where I was done too,
Yeah.
and I was gonna walk away, you know, but I wasn't gonna divorce her though. I was just gonna remove myself
Yeah.
um until she came to her senses. No matter how long that took.
All right.
I was gonna just remove myself from, living with her and stuff like that. Obviously that's not what happened, but I wasn't gonna keep myself in that situation for much longer.
Got you.
Even though, like I said, I wasn't going to divorce her because I still felt God was telling me, like, clear as day, no, that's not what I want you to do. And he, like I said, I felt like, he told me it was okay if I did. And I don't think he would have been mad if I did. But me being a Christian and me feeling like I heard him say, I want you to stay married to her and, just wait for her. I felt like I couldn't say no to that. I wanted to leave
Yeah.
badly, and I wanted to go and find somebody else because I was dealing with the rejection aspect, and I desperately, desperately wanted to feel loved at that point in my life. I mean, dude, I was at I'd be up at night when she was gone sometimes, and I'm a grown man and I'm just crying in my bed.
Yeah,
You know
man.
what I mean? Like I don't know, and I'm not like a huge crier, never really have been for that. Like I was sobbing just with her knowing she's gone overnight with this guy. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to get out. I wanted to get out. And if it kept going, I was gonna remove myself from the situation, but that's as far as I was gonna take it.
So where are you now? As we come to kind of a close, where are you now with that idea of needing to be wanted?
It's definitely something that I still feel. Um, I've expressed this stuff to my wife, and she has been very understanding about it. Not at first she wasn't, like because I'm a very I feel like, like most guys, our top love language is physical,
Physical touch.
you know. Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. So now that we've gotten back together and we're working on things, the sex life hasn't been too consistent. Like I said, we're still working on things. So it's not like too detrimental, but it's something that I have brought to her attention. And I'm thinking to myself, because I asked too many questions, found out too many things from other people, I know how often things were going on. I mean, not all of it, obviously, but I know that it was more than what I was getting, after we got back together. And I'm like, so I would bring that to her attention. I'm like, it should be the opposite. Like, I'm your husband. I should be getting tenfold what he got, you know? And the reality of it is, in their little season of whatever it was they were having, it was just all fantasy. There was no real life. There was no responsibilities. There was no children, you know. It was just all fantasy. It was make believe. So I have to take that into consideration, like we're just not, we don't have the time, to just be gallivanting around and having nothing else to do but get frisky with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so there is that aspect to it, but she has also realized that, you know, with her, she's felt like, because I told you about like her past getting passed around by her family and stuff, and then once she like moved out, she was like, in order to like stay somewhere, she would be like sleeping with guys just to like have a place to stay, you know? And so in her mind, she knew that something needed to change, but in her mind it was like she shouldn't need to do that anymore because I'm her husband. She doesn't need to sleep with me all the time to, have stability. You know what I mean? Or have
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
so I there's a lot of things that we both had to take into consideration, and yeah, so that's something we're working on. And she has definitely listened to me, and has been more proactive to meeting my needs, and I've been trying to do the same for her. That's where we're at, man.
Yeah, man. That's a work in progress for sure. Well, I want to open up if you have any questions for me or any last words you want to say, brother. It's been an honor for me, man. Just how conversation's been very, very
Yeah.
amazing,
Well,
man.
I'm
So
I'm just glad we got a chance to talk, man.
I agree. I agree. It's
We
been a
bet
while.
I'm still trying to figure out how the heck we started talking in the first place, but but I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be some type of maybe a group or something we met in.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
Probably. It's been
Maybe
years though. I
it
think it started
has.
on Facebook.
It definitely did for sure.
Yep. So
But
maybe I'll
no,
have to
man.
go look back at my messages, figure it out.
Possibly. But yeah, man, you're super dope, brother, man. Glad we finally able to talk and get to know each other, man. Just want to allow you, man, any way you want to close out today's show, man, feel free.
Well, I will say that if anybody wants to know more about my story, I don't know if you could like maybe share a link to so that they could find me or anything, and then they could
Absolutely.
hit me up and I could let them know any questions they have. Because like I said, the whole story, if like I got into everything, we'd be sitting here talking for weeks, man. Like it's really crazy, and there's been so many ups and downs, and I do feel like I have a lot of good advice for people, and there's just I feel like, if anybody wants to ask me questions, if you could put a link so they can find me, and they can hit me up whenever.
Absolutely. I'll put it all in the description. And also, what's your TikTok and your Facebook? Give that out, man.
My Facebook, well, you just look up Zack Snyder. My Facebook's nothing special. it's just me, but it's spelled just like the Justice League guy, the director, Zack Snyder. On TikTok, I have two separate ones, but I have one that I'm actually thinking about starting something like kind of like what you're doing, but yeah, so I want to start like a podcast or something, but right now I just have the TikTok and I just have one video. But I'm hoping to start making more. But it's called Captive Thoughts, and that goes back to that verse that I kept going back to, 2 Corinthians 10:5. It's all about taking those thoughts captive and making them obedient to Christ, and that's what I want to do on that TikTok. I want to just, like kind of like open discussion like we're doing here, just talk about things that are going on in the world or things that are going on with me or with other people, and just try to look into the Bible and see what advice God's got for us on it,
Yeah, man. I love it. I definitely will be supporting. I advise anyone to go over there as well to support. Zach, it's been a pleasure, my brother. Hope you have a great night. Go home. Apologize to your wife, whatever you got to do. But yeah, man.
You got to go rub them bunions,
Got to do it, man. All right, brother. Enjoy it, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, man.